Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a live virtual webinar. We are streaming live here on Facebook today with a special presentation of 6 steps to building a stronger, more profitable business that can work without you. And to present today's topic, we have Tim Campsall, owner of TBC Action Coach of Indiana. Tim, how are you doing today?
Very well, Brian. Thank you so much. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day here in Indianapolis.
It sure is.
Tim, I'm going to yield the floor to you. We have your presentation up on the screen, and you are now live on Facebook.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Ryan. Hello, everyone. As Ryan said, my name is Tim Campsall, and I'd like to welcome you to our 6 Steps webinar today. Being in business is a tough gig sometimes. It's one of the loneliest jobs there is. So I first want to thank you for watching this webinar to find out what business coaching is and how to grow your business. There's 6 steps to growing your business that we teach here at Action Coach. And we find that by doing it this way, a systematic methodology, which by the way, we've been doing for over 26 years, has helped tens of thousands of companies. Next slide, please. All right, so how many of you would say that you're experts at making mistakes? In fact, let me step back. I'm going to ask you questions, and obviously I know that we can't see each other, but here's the point. The more you participate, the more you're going to learn from this, and I'll get into that in a little bit more. So just go ahead and raise your hand as if we're live. So how many of you would say you're experts at making mistakes? Yeah, I find oftentimes I have to raise both my hands and maybe even one of my legs. But here's the thing about mistakes, right? When we learned how to walk, we learned by falling down. And at the time, we made lots of mistakes, but we were given encouragement and support and love. So we didn't know we were making mistakes. We just knew that we were doing exactly what we were supposed to do. But then what happens when we become adults? We're taught that we can't fail, right? And so then we stop putting ourselves out there. Well, I guarantee in this webinar, you're going to learn specific steps, ideas, and strategies to help you stop making mistakes in your business and be a better business leader. But here's the catch. You must choose to put yourself out there and take action. If you simply sit and listen to what I'm sharing with you, you'll absorb about 7% of the information. If you take notes, that jumps up to 50%. And if you participate, i.e. write in color, raise your hand, respond to questions, retention rate's gonna jump up to 98%. So the only failure is the failure to what? Go ahead, Ryan, and click that next. Yeah, the failure then is the failure to participate. And so if you give 100%, then you're gonna get 100% out of the experience today. Okay. At the end of the seminar, I'm going to ask you to take action, and I'm going to present you with an offer that you're going to want to take advantage of. So of a show of hands, just go ahead and give me a commitment that you're going to participate and take action today. Next slide. A little bit about myself here. I was born and raised in Canada, moved to the US in 2005, and started working at the age of 15 at a local gas station where I opened the store on the weekends so that the owner could sleep in. Then for the past 28 years, I've had a very successful career of managing businesses and coaching teams within the corporate world. I've worked on businesses that I think you all know very well, like Kentucky Fried Chicken and Raid and Hoff, Ziploc, Saran Wrap, Edge and Skinton Shave Gel, Scrubbing Bubbles, Pledge, Fantastic, Sargento Cheese, and locally here, what brought us to Indiana is Red Gold Tomatoes. These businesses have ranged from 1.5 million in revenue to over 500 million. In that same time, I've coached, trained, taught, and mentored well over 200 people. And some of those folks have gone on to become vice presidents, presidents, and even a CEO, both here and in Canada. Next slide. So the reason that I do what I do is to provide for and support my family. So my why is my family. This is my family here. On the far left is my oldest stepson, Tony. Next to him, my stepson, Enrique, my beautiful wife, Patrita, in the middle. and our little guy in the front who tells us he's no longer little because he has turned 13, and he's an adult now, according to him. I've chased my career for 10 years, and it's required multiple moves and significant inconveniences to my family. At the same time, the corporate world has shifted from a focus on employees to a focus on the bottom line profit, which all of this had led me to realize that this was no longer the right fit for me and my family. And so that, along with my passion, which is to make a difference in other people's lives, led me into business coaching. And I now have the opportunity to make a difference in a lot more people's lives as a business coach than I ever could working in the corporate world. Next slide. So a little bit about Action Coach. We are a privately owned business founded by Brad Sugars, who's an entrepreneur and author. Our vision is world abundance through business re-education. And Ryan, I've got a couple of bullet points here. If you could just go through and put those all up on the slide. So world abundance through business re-education. What that means is that many of us are not running our businesses according to best practices. And so when we take the time to re-educate ourselves on the right way to run a business, the sky's the limit. That's where the world abundance comes through. We are the #1 business coaching firm in the world. We coach over 15,000 businesses each week, and we've got 1,000 offices in over 80 countries. Next, please. So my purpose here today is to reward you with your time, your investment, right? You're taking out time from your busy schedule to listen to this webinar. And so I want to make sure that you're getting a return on your time. So there's 3 things that you're going to get from today's webinar. First is how to increase sales and profits. And Ryan, if you can just go through and click all those on. So the first is sales and profits. Second is to free up your time. And third is how to create an amazing team. All right, and then next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so what I want to do is first of all have you think about what is your goal for this webinar? What do you want to learn? What's the reason why you're watching this? And go ahead and write that down for yourself. Take a note. And the reason that I'm having you do that is because by writing down your goal, you just triggered your reticular activating system. Go ahead and click that up there, Ryan. Your reticular activating system, or RAS for short, is a part of your brainstem that controls your level of consciousness. It's incredibly powerful. Our subconscious spends all day working in the background to achieve the things that we tell it that are important. So you've probably all had the experience where you've bought a car, and as you were driving the car around the week after purchasing it, you seem to notice that everybody has the same car as you on the road. Well, it's not that everybody got the same car the same time you did. It's that you told your reticular activating system that this car that you just purchased was important to you and that it should be paying attention to it. And so it starts to notice it all around you, even though those cars were around you all the time before you purchased it. So when we set goals, we give our subconscious specific direction on what to work on for us. We probably all had the experience where we couldn't solve a problem all day, and then after a good night's sleep, the answer seems to just come to us in the morning. Well, that's our reticular activating system working on our behalf. So goals are critical in all that we do. Next bullet point there, it's the compass for our brain, right? It really helps us to understand, by setting goals, helps our reticular activating system understand what we should be working on. So to be successful as a business owner, you must have at a minimum yearly goals, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and if you're an overachiever, we even suggest daily goals. So at the end of each day, you write down the goals of what you want to achieve tomorrow. By beginning with the end in mind, quoting Stephen Covey, right, we will be much more successful as a business owner than if we don't have goals. Next slide, please. All right, so how many of you have heard the saying, if at first you don't succeed, try again? Most people say that they'll try, but the reality is you can't try. Trying is not an action. You either do something or you don't do something. Right? You can't try to do something. So we call this idea of doing or not doing the point of power. And you're either above or below the point. People below the point live in this proverbial live in this proverbial state of bed, right? We live in a proverbial bed, and bed is defined as blame, excuses, and denial. Right? Right now, especially during this epidemic, right, this crisis, we all feel like, hey, there's a lot of things out of our control. And some of us will say, well, because of the government shutdown, because of the restrictions, my business can't operate, and therefore I'm just going to stick my head in the sand and do nothing, right? We're allowing ourselves to be in this proverbial bed of blame, excuses, and denial. Conversely, those above the point of power, go ahead and click that, Ryan. People above the point of power take our oar of life, right? And we take ownership, accountability, and responsibility for our business, for our life, and we do whatever is needed, whatever we must be done to make sure that our business pivots, make sure our business survives through this crisis and comes out the other end in a much stronger place. So we all have the decision to determine whether, go ahead and click two more, to determine whether we're going to live below the point of power and be powerless, or if we're going to live above the point of power and be powerful. It's a daily choice that we have to make. So even when we decide that we're going to live above the point of power, there will be times that we fall below, right? We get that punch in the gut or that unexpected bad news and we dip below there. The important thing is to make sure that we quickly realize it and do the next best thing, which is take ownership, accountability, and responsibility. And we may need people in our life to hold us accountable, whether that's a coach, a friend, a significant other, or joining a mastermind group. Next slide, please. So let's think about your business. There's two types of businesses. One's where the business is driving the business owner and having your hand in all of the day-to-day work, right? The business controls you. All decisions need to be made by the business owner. The business owner feels like no one can do the job as well as them, and they're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Next. The other type is where the business owner is driving the business. They have a team that takes care of the day-to-day and things run very smoothly. The owner is able to duck out early to see their kids in a school activity or have 4-day weekend or take 2 weeks off for vacation without worry because the business is able to run without them. Next slide, please. So most of us who have gone out and started our own business begin by going from being employed to simply buying ourselves a job and being self-employed. Okay? The goal over time, go ahead and click again. The goal over time is to move up what we call the entrepreneurial ladder, right? So we go from an employee to being self-employed to becoming a manager where we've got other people working for us that can do some of the day-to-day, to a business owner, to an investor, to an entrepreneur. So next slide, please. So let's think about if we all start at being self-employed or buying ourselves a job, how do we move up this entrepreneurial ladder? So Action Coach's definition of a successful business is a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you, the business owner. Next slide. And the way that it works, we can build this business that works without you, the owner, is through our 6 steps to massive results. I'm going to walk you through this. So step 1, Ryan, go ahead and just put these all up because there's a number of builds here. So the first step is mastery. Okay? Mastery is all about being an expert at running our business. But here's the thing, right? Most of us who have gone into business for ourselves are experts at our art or our craft or our trade. We're not experts at running the business, right? And so we need to start with becoming experts at running our business. So there's 4 areas we focus on here. First is destination. So what is the vision of our company? Next is money mastery. So having a very solid understanding of the financials within our business so that we can make good, solid business decisions based on the numbers. Time is the third, getting mastery of our time, where we're focusing on the most important things in our business. We're learning to work on the business instead of working in the business and having the business control us, and being able to determine between activities that are value add to the business versus activities that are just busy work. And then finally, delivery mastery, which is ensuring that we have a good understanding of our customer service and that we're meeting or beating our customers' expectations. Once we've got those 4 areas of mastery in place, we've really started to eliminate the chaos, the day-to-day chaos of our business, and we're able to get some stability. Where step 2 is niche or niche, however you pronounce it. And how do you know you don't have a niche in the marketplace? It's because you compete on price. So the objective here is to ensure that you're not competing on price, because all that does is set you up for ultimate bankruptcy, because somebody bigger than you is always going to be willing to undercut you and in longer term put you out of business because you're not able to compete. So a niche is all about what is your unique selling proposition? What is it that differentiates you from your competitors that allows you to charge a price that gives you a sustainable business model? Once we've identified your niche, we then can focus on the sales and the marketing and sales activities within your business and really start to grow the business to get that predictable cash flow. When we have that predictable cash flow, we can then move to step 3, which is leverage. Right? We use those funds to invest back into the business, and leverage is all about systems. System stands for saving yourself time, energy, and money. So it's up to everyone within the organization to systematize the company. The interesting fact is that about 80% of what we do day to day in a business is routine work. And we generally leave the routine work up to chance. Let's think about, for example, doing a cold call, right? Or answering the phone when it rings. If we leave it up to chance, everybody will do that call however they decide is best for them, right? As opposed to if we actually write out a script of something that we know, a way that we know is a best practice, and we have everybody follow that best practice, those phone calls become much more efficient and effective. So when we get that efficiency in place, it starts to free up our time and our employees' time, because again, everybody's operating much more efficiently and effectively, and we're able to get better results from those activities. From there, we move up to step 4. Step 4 is team. This is all about ensuring that we have the right people on the bus and they're sitting in the right seat on the bus. The idea here is leveraging some of the work that or taking advantage of some of the work that we did creating those systems. So back to systems for a minute, areas that we focus on here is what's the vision of the organization? What's that inspirational, motivating purpose of our company that gets us excited to jump out of bed every day? What's the mission of the organization? What's the culture, the values, and the beliefs? Creating an organization chart and roles and responsibilities, SMART goals, key performance indicators for everybody within the company, having how-to manuals or training videos for every operation within the organization, and having an overall management system in place. So when we've got all those systems in place, the team that we bring on board, we want to make sure that they're aligned to our vision and our purpose, they're aligned to our culture, and that we're recruiting and hiring them based on, do they fit our overall reason for being, right? We want to hire people that want to work for us because they're aligned to our bigger purpose, not because they just want a paycheck. And so we introduce a recruiting process here called deselection that focuses more on, let's make sure we get the right people into our organization, not folks who are just coming to work for a paycheck. So then after team, right, we now have a company that is able to run without us because we've got the team in place and the systems in place. So we as the business owner can pull back from the day-to-day and operate more like a general manager of the organization, right? So we hit step 5, which is synergy. We've got a well-oiled machine that is able to run without us. 1 + 1 = more than 2. And we now have the freedom and flexibility that we probably went into business for in the first place to start to think about what else do we want to do, right? Maybe we want to expand this business by opening another location. Maybe we want to purchase another business, right? Maybe we want to franchise this business. And now it's all about using the passive income from the first business to invest in other businesses that ultimately helps us move up that entrepreneurial ladder to having multiple businesses that run without us, that provide a passive income and allow us to then start investing in real estate or the stock market, where we can start to get to that entrepreneurial level of multiple businesses. Next slide, please. So most business owners know how many customers they have, what their revenue is, and how much profit they make. Which one of those do you guys think is the most important? Ryan, just go ahead and put all of those bullet points up, please. So this is actually a trick question, right? The reality is that customers, revenue, and profit is the least important things that you should be focusing on as a business owner. The reason that they're the least important is because they're all results. If I was to say, hey, go out tomorrow and get another customer or increase your revenue or increase your profit, you can't, right? This is where it gets really exciting. Next slide, please. So here is what you can do, right? And Ryan, go ahead and put all of these up if they're not already. What you can do is you can increase the number of leads that you get. You can improve your conversion rate. And by focusing on those two things, it will improve your customers. You can improve the number of transactions or number of times a year your customers buy from you. You can improve your average dollar sale, how much they spend each time they buy from you, and that will have a direct correlation to your revenue. And you can improve your profit margins, which will impact your profit. But like I said earlier, you can't do the activities in red. You can't increase customers' revenue and profit. You have to focus on the 5 areas in blue. So I'm going to use some numbers here just to bring this formula to life and give a little bit of illustration. So number of leads in this example is 4,000. So we define leads as people who have gone through your marketing funnel far enough that they've said, yeah, I'm interested in a proposal or a quote. So in this example, there's 4,000. The conversion rate, that is what percentage of those people become customers. This example is 25%. So 4,000 times 25% is 1,000 customers. Number of transactions is on average, how many times did those customers buy from you a year? Now, some customers will only buy once, some will buy 6, 7, 8, 9 times, but on average here, the example is 2, right? Average dollar sale, that's how much they spend on average on each transaction. So again, some customers may only spend $10, some may spend 1,000, but on average here, the example is 100. So 1,000 customers times 2 transactions a year times $100 per transaction equals a revenue of $200,000. Profit margin here is 25%. So 200,000 in revenue times 25% profit margin equals $50,000 in profit. Now, I said earlier that this is where the magic comes in because 95% of business owners don't know this information on their business. They know the red, they don't know the blue. And so if I was to say my goal is to go out and increase my customers, I have to actually do the activities in blue. And if I don't know what my conversion rate is, then I don't know how many leads I have. So we see just by implementing and tracking your business this way over a 12-month period, clients see an average increase of 10%. On top of that, when you become a client of ours, we've got over 350 strategies across these 5 areas that we give to you as a homework assignment, and you pick a couple that you want to implement in each of the 5 areas. So what I'm going to show now is just if we were to improve each of the 5 areas by 10%, what the increase would be to this formula and to this sample business. So number of leads goes from 4,000 up 10% to 4,400. Ryan, if you could just go ahead and click them as I'm sharing this information. So conversion rate goes from 25% up 10% would go to 27.5. And notice that's a 10% increase, not a 10-point increase. Okay? So then 4,400 times 27.5 equals customers of 1,210. Okay? Number of transactions goes from 2 to 2.2. Average dollar sale from 100 to 110. So your revenue then goes up to 292,820. Profit margin similar from 25% to 27.5. So your profit goes from 50,000 to 80,525. So let me just share some examples here of what would cause that 10% increase. So number of leads. Reach out to your current satisfied customers and ask them to refer you somebody that they know. Okay? Conversion rate. Again, reach out to your existing customers and ask them for a testimonial or a review that you can share with future leads to get them to end up becoming a customer. Right? Number of transactions. The salon industry is a great example here, right? So if you're like me, you've got a set schedule of how often you should go and get your hair cut. For me, it's every 4 weeks, right? But sometimes life gets busy and I wait 5 or 6 weeks. And so by waiting 5 or 6 weeks, that salon ends up missing out on a transaction or two a year. So by pre-scheduling my next appointment, they would actually improve the number of transactions. Average dollar sale here is, if you think of McDonald's, what do the cashiers say to you when you place your order? Yeah, would you like fries with that, or would you like a drink with that? So what is your version of would you like fries with that? You should be upselling every single customer you have because some percentage of them are always going to say yes. So if you don't have an upsell, you're leaving money on the table. And then profit margins, the biggest way to improve your profit margin is a price increase. Many folks are afraid of increasing prices, but we've done numerous studies that show that the overall profit improvement to the business of a price increase is always more than the customers who may leave because they don't like the price increase. The other thing is it frees up capacity for you to bring on existing or additional profitable customers because your unprofitable or pain in the butt customers, your D customers, left because of that price increase. So by simply implementing this 5 ways formula, tracking these numbers over a 12-month period gives our clients an average increase of 10%, because what gets measured gets focused on and gets more attention, and you naturally will become better at it. And so as you see here on the screen, a profit improvement of 61% over a 12-month period. Who wouldn't want a $30,000 improvement in 12 months just by tracking your numbers? Next slide, please. So just wrapping up here with a couple of quotes. Richard Branson says, if you can learn to run one business successfully, then there's no reason you can't run any number of businesses at the same time, because the principles are the same. So the 2 principles or methodologies that I just walked you through is the 6 steps to building a better business or a more profitable business that can run without you, and the 5 ways to massive results or massive profits. So those 2 methodologies, once you learn how to use them and use them well, it's very easy to then apply that thinking and that methodology to your second and third business and quickly get those businesses up and running without you, so that you can start to move towards that entrepreneurial status. Next slide, please. Brad Sugar says, where you'll be in 5 years will depend on the books you read, the people you associate with, and the actions you take. So a business is either growing or it's dying. There's no such thing as a status quo business. And so what are you doing to become a better business owner so that you're able to run a successful business that is continuing to grow and develop? And so your homework on this slide is make sure that you're reaching out to books or videos or conferences or coaches or mastermind groups. Make sure that you're always investing in becoming a better version of you so that you can run a better business. Next slide. Tiger Woods says, no matter how tough you think you are, you can't do this on your own. and he's referring to the value of his coach and his support team. You think of sports in general, no aspiring athlete thinks that they can do it on their own. They all have at least one coach and oftentimes multiple coaches. And the best of the best athletes have many coaches that focus on different areas of their sport. So why would it be any different in business? Why would we expect that we could be an expert in all the various areas of running our business? And so the analogy here is, if you want to be an exceptional business owner, all exceptional business owners, like all exceptional athletes, have a coach to help them navigate through how to be the best of the best. Next slide, please. So let's come back to the goal that you wrote at the beginning of this webinar. Right? What was the thing that you wanted to learn from this? And did you learn that? Did you learn one thing from this seminar? And what I'd like you to do is write down what are the 1 to 5 things that you learned throughout this webinar that you think are applicable to your business. And then more importantly, what is the one action that you're going to apply from this learning to move your business forward? As I said earlier, it's critical to make sure that we're writing that down to lock in that learning, but even more critical to make sure that we're taking actions, to go back to Brad Sugar's quote of, and the actions you take. A lot of people make the mistake of learning and writing it down and then putting it in a pile on their desk and never taking action on it. So I highly encourage you to make sure that you take action on the most important thing that you learned today. Next slide. So if you watched this and said, hey, there's a number of things here that I think would be beneficial to my organization, to my company, I think that I could definitely elevate my game and make my business stronger by the things that you learned today. If you want massive results and are ready to do whatever it takes, I have a special offer for you. As a thank you for watching this webinar, everyone can have a complimentary coaching session with me valued at $1,500. I have a limited number of these that I offer each month. So if you're ready to take your business to the next level, you're going to want to get on this right away. And the way this works is it starts with a brief questionnaire that you fill out, and then we'll get together for 2 hours and do a deep dive into your business. We're going to look at where your challenges are, where your opportunities are. We're going to look through the lenses of the 6 steps and the 5 ways to really identify some strategies that would help take your business to the next level. And then we'll also explore whether coaching is something that's right for you. And if we both agree that it makes sense, we'll then decide on which coaching program is right for you. But here's the thing. This is a no pressure, no heavy sales pitch, no strings attached opportunity for you to explore. And you're guaranteed to walk away with a couple strategies that you can apply to your business right away, just as a thank you for the investment of your time. At the end of the day, my passion is all about growing businesses and coaching business leaders to achieve massive results. So I highly encourage you to take advantage of this because there's absolutely no strings attached. Next slide, please. Oh, so if you do want to take advantage of that, my email address is up there on the slide. Please send me a message. Or reach out through Ryan to get a hold of me, and we'll get you signed up for that. I've got a couple of other learning opportunities that I run here. I do a 6-step. The version that I just took you through, the 6 steps, was a condensed version. I do a longer version that's an hour and a half that I run a couple of times a month. So the first Wednesday and the third Tuesday. So if you'd like to participate in that, again, just reach out to me and I can get you the contact information for that. And then on Fridays, I do a Survive and Thrive Mastermind. Both of these webinars are free. The Friday one, I do a different topic each month. You can see this past Friday, we focused on marketing. And so we go through different topics each month. And it's topical in terms of what I'm hearing from my network of areas that business owners are wanting to learn about. So again, reach out to me and I can get you the links to sign up for that information. And then the last slide here is just a reminder that the most important thing in business is all about taking action. So again, don't allow the things that you wrote down to sit on your desk and collect dust. make sure that you are taking action on those things and applying those learnings to your business. And Ryan, that is it for the webinar, and be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Yes, to all of our viewers watching live here on Facebook during this portion of the webinar, Tim is here to answer your questions. So if you're watching live with us, go ahead and drop your question into the comments, and we will ask Tim your question, and you can listen to his answer here in the video. And for those of you who are interested in knowing everything in Tim's presentation today will be archived after this webinar if you visit openindiana.com/watch. So we will, our comments are open now. We're checking the comments here on Facebook, and we will be happy to ask Tim your questions as they come in.
Thank you.
Tim, I'll actually start things off with asking you a question. So earlier in this webinar today, you mentioned about not letting your business run you. So as a small business owner who's looking at the best way to grow as far as staffing or employees, what are some of the jobs that you would want to look for in a small business owner hiring out first?
Yeah, great question. And let me start that by saying that obviously, right, when we first start out, and I am a small business owner as well. I'm a solopreneur right now, so I am doing everything myself. And that's where we all have to start, because you can't just jump into having a business that completely runs without you. So there is an awareness of, in the beginning, it's baby steps. So what I generally do with clients is I have them do what we call a time study, where over a 2-week period, I have every hour, I have them jot down what they're doing. And we use that to get a sense of how much of their time are they spending working in their business versus working on their business. And we group the activities so that I can start to point things out. So for example, doing your bookkeeping. So one of the things I talked about earlier was the importance of having an understanding of your financials, and I want everybody to be looking at your P&L and your balance sheet every month and looking at your cash flow projections every week. But that doesn't mean that you have to be the one doing that activity, right? You can use software like QuickBooks and leverage technology, leverage systems to do that for you. You can use your accountant or a bookkeeper to do that activity for you. All that you need to do is be able to know how to read your information and be able to make good decisions based on it. You don't necessarily have to be doing the activities. Another area that I recommend right away, outsourcing, is administrative tasks. So question that I ask clients is, okay, so that activity that you're spending, this is an example, you're spending 5 hours a week on, how much would it cost to pay someone to do that? And let's make up numbers, $15 an hour. Okay, great. And what's your bill rate? How much would you charge a client for your time? Let's say it's $100 an hour, right? So you're losing $85 an hour for every hour that you're doing that administrative work, right? And then the business owner typically is like, oh yeah, I am. And so how quickly, right, at what revenue level would you feel comfortable outsourcing that activity or hiring somebody to do that work for you so that you can focus on the $100 an hour projects instead of the $15 an hour projects? Does that make sense, Ryan?
Yes, that explains it very well. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'd say there isn't really outsource this activity or hire this activity first. It really depends on what your business model is and going through that time study to identify it. And then the question also always becomes, well, should I outsource or should I hire? And there's no black and white answer to that either. It really becomes business specific, and that's part of the exploration that we would go through when a client starts working with me to figure out what's the best financial decision for that business.
So then, Tim, that brings me to another important question here, and that is, how soon could a business tell if financially it just isn't working out? Is there a way to see those indicators before all of the big alarms start to go off?
Meaning, is this not a sustainable business that we aren't able to make it work? Is that what you mean?
Correct.
Yeah. Um, I wouldn't say that there's a big aha moment. The biggest mistake that I see with small businesses in particular is that they try to do everything bootstrapped, meaning, right, they didn't start with enough capital up front to be able to invest in marketing and sales. And if you don't have marketing and sales, then it's really hard for people to know what your business is and what you're offering and how you're unique or different from your competitors. So I'm not saying that you have to have a huge budget, but you need money to be able to invest in your marketing activities so that you are generating leads into your business. So the big indicator is back to that 5 ways formula that I shared earlier is, first of all, let's develop a budget, right? When we start working together, if you don't have a budget, let's put that budget in place right away so that you know what your monthly goals are. And then if you're short of those goals, let's look at the 5 ways formula and determine what additional marketing activity needs to be done in order to generate the leads that are required to get you to your goals. So it almost is always more of an issue of we're not generating enough top line versus we're not, our profit margins aren't as strong as they need to be. Right? It's much easier to improve your profits by improving the top of that 5 ways formula than it is to just focus on cutting costs.
Awesome. Well, Tim, I do not see any other questions here from our viewers, so I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for being our presenter today. And before we close, why don't you give our viewers your contact information so that they could take advantage of your complimentary coaching session, as well as learn more about anything that you can help them with.
Wonderful, thank you. So my email address is timcampsall@actioncoach.com, and my phone number is 262-994-9038. That's it is an out-of-state cell phone, but I am here locally in Noblesville. So again, phone number is 262-994-9038, and my email is timcampsall@actioncoach.com.
Great. Tim, thank you so much for being our guest presenter today. And to everyone watching, thank you for watching this live virtual webinar. Check out www.openindiana.com/watch for an archive of this webinar, as well as other great topics. Have a great afternoon, everyone.